by Green. Throws it back up top. James puts up the three. Oh, it's good! LeBron James from downtown.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Three Guys with Mike. I'm Little Man Joe, my co-host here, William. First and foremost, with everything going on, the NFL season is finally done. Yeah. And it's sad to say, it hurts to say. Deep down, we gotta wait another 6 months. But that's not gonna stop us from obviously posting NFL videos, predictions, free agency, rankings. Yeah. But moving forward, before we say anything, actually, I want to say thank you for all the support, all the follows, the shout-outs, the subscriptions. Really appreciate it. Every view, no matter how many views it is. Yeah. We take it for granted. We appreciate it. We thank you guys for being a part of the journey with us. And with all that being said...
Don't forget about the new Twitter.
Oh, yes. The new Twitter is out. A couple of tweets from a couple hours ago, the 76ers and Celtics played, right? Yeah. We were tweeting about that game and such a disappointing loss for the 76ers. But with that being said, leads us into today's video. Yeah. The NBA trade deadline. Mm-hmm. And I think we're going to talk about, obviously, the most... the ones that caught the most attention, right? And first and foremost, I think the one we should start off with is the 76ers and the Brooklyn Nets. Mm-hmm. So it was a first-round pick, Seth Curry and Andre Drummond for James Harden. I think that was it too, huh?
Oh, don't forget Ben Simmons.
And Ben Simmons.
I think they traded...
That's sad that I forgot Ben Simmons.
They traded Millsap.
Right? And yes, Paul Millsap. Yeah. But then again, I don't know if he's ever going to see the floor.
He did in the 50-point blowout.
Yeah, the 50-point blowout. He got some playing time. With that being said, I just want to hear your grade and how this trade helps out both teams.
Grades for both teams?
Yeah.
Okay. I would say for the Sixers, I would say it's a B+. For the Nets, I'm going to go A-. Okay? Mm-hmm. But here's my thing about it. Okay, so both of these trades, right? I think the Sixers won it right now because it's less of a risk than
more
Ben
of an
Simmons.
eye-opener, too.
Yeah, and it's less of a risk for Ben Simmons. I think you finally pair Embiid with an elite scorer, with the top 15 basketball player in the NBA. But I think you're looking at me like, okay. I know. But I think that the biggest question is that James Harden really hasn't performed how he has in the regular season and in the playoffs. And that's going to be a big thing. But I think that's less of something to worry about now that you still have Joel Embiid, who could dominate the game at any time. There's really no one in the NBA who could slow him down or guard him. So I think right now the Sixers won that trade, but you do lose some of your depth. And I think that you still have to rely on Tobias Harris to keep on scoring, which we saw tonight. He didn't really do that. Maxey, who I think is up and down, but he is going in the right direction. Yeah. And I think right now, in my opinion, I think he's the third scoring option for the Sixers. Going on with the Nets, looking at Ben Simmons, I think if Ben Simmons was to work on his game, he could be a 20-10-10 player. But that's a big if. That's a big if because we saw in the past 2 to 3 years him not wanting to improve, not even attempting shots, attempting threes, and we'll get into it after what I say, but with this Nets team, I think that if Ben Simmons gets it together, I think if Kyrie Irving fixes his little vaccination thing, Durant gets back healthy, you added Seth Curry, who's a great role player, and you add, who else did they get?
Seth Curry, Drummond.
They also got Drummond, who, I mean, he's not the best big, but he gives you nice rebounds at times. And he just adds another element to that basketball team, which I think they need going to the playoffs.
Apparently this year he's a good pickup. But last year
he wasn't one of those for the Lakers, yeah. But also looking at this, Ben Simmons doesn't need to score on this team. Mm-hmm. Last year in the playoffs, you needed his scoring, or at least when you saw him being scared and timid on offense, you knew it was a problem. For the Nets, I don't think it's going to be a problem. He could have 0 points, but have 10 rebounds, 10 assists, a few blocks and steals, and that's going to do great for the Nets because you have two of the best scorers in the NBA. So right now, Sixers won this trade, but I think in the future it's going to be a bigger payoff for the Nets.
Yeah, I agree on almost everything you said, even the grades as well. But with the playoff performances, to me, I think, yes, Harden hasn't been there. But in my opinion, I still think Embiid hasn't really reached that top tier yet of performing that good in the playoffs.
Yeah, but I think that could change,
I think it could change, but recently he hasn't shown it. I mean, against the Hawks, no one on that team can guard him, in my opinion. And that's one of the series that he should have taken over and that they should have undoubtedly won. And yes, I know Ben Simmons did pass up on a lot of shots. But then again, Joel Embiid is the leader of that team. MVP conversation almost every year these past 3 years. Yeah. And at that point, I just feel like it comes down to his what is it, like the condition that he's in.
I get you.
You know what I mean?
Saw that in the bubble.
Yeah.
You saw
Like,
in the bubble
it just
against the Celtics.
it's all these games just take a lot out of him, and you never know what you're gonna get. And especially going in a Game 7 series, I think that's probably one of the worst possibilities for the 76ers because at that point he's finished.
Yeah.
At that point, to me, everything is taken out of him. So I think right now, yes, I think the Nets have won. Or right now, the Sixers have won because of a big eye opener, James Harden MVP. But the Nets, literally low key won this trade.
Yeah.
Seth Curry, Drummond, Ben Simmons. It's just all gonna work out in the end, and I honestly wouldn't even be surprised if we see Ben Simmons take a couple jumpers. Because everyone knows.
Yeah.
Those Philly fans over there get to you.
I'm glad you brought that up. Because
real hard.
I wanted to ask you about a few things. So, I don't know if you saw it, but this was months ago when we all heard about the Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons kind of having a falling out. And when he was returning to practice, but you saw him on his phone, you saw a bunch of distractions going on with him. I posted it on the story of 3 Guys with Mike on the Instagram, and I said that I think it's both parties' fault. Yeah. I think Ben Simmons is clearly at fault. Not wanting to work on your game, especially in a town like that, you should know better. Especially when you're on a team like that has the potential to win a ring, you should know you want to work on your game. Not be afraid of the big times where you need to take a shot instead of passing. You all know that when he passed up in Game 7, just so many things like that where we kind of need to see Ben Simmons should have stepped up.
Yeah,
but I think I saw a tweet this morning when I was getting ready for work, and a lot of people were saying that the Sixers fans have no part in this whole thing that's going on. We all know the stigma around Philly fans. I'm an Eagles fan myself. I know the way that they act when it comes to players, i.e. Carson Wentz. But there's so many things that Philly fans do wrong that you shouldn't really be doing. And I understand it is frustrating. You invest a lot of time in your team. You invest a lot of money in your team to have a player just not really show out and get paid a lot of money and not really do anything. Yeah. But I think you have to understand that at times you can be toxic. I'm not saying it's every Philly fan. I'm not saying it's all the time. But at certain times, it has to just get to his head. And you have to wonder, what does he think? And a lot of people, you saw the video of him today, smiling at, when he was warming up with the Nets, right? And a lot of people were saying all of a sudden he's smiling and stuff. It's like you never know what could go through his head. You never know what's going on. Maybe he's out of that whole thing.
And you could say the same thing for Harden now. He's like all jumpy and excited for his practice.
Yeah, it's like
the same way when he got to
it's kind of your reaction when you go to a new team. When you're introduced to something new, you just get excited. So I think that's a valid point to just say maybe if he's removed from that environment, he's in a better place.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Harden was arguably one of my favorite players these past couple of years. But then watching him start to turn into a diva, and all these stories come out about him, it's just, I don't know anymore. It's like, yes, he's undoubtedly a Hall of Famer, but then again, it's like, is he really doing it because he wants a ring? You know? Yeah. Or does he just want all the attention for himself? Yeah. I don't know. It's just, he doesn't seem like a player who really needs or wants a ring, and he's desperate to get it. All those years were back in Houston. Yeah,
I mean, you never know. He's in Philly now. I mean, he's with the top 15 player in the NBA.
He was just there for the cheesesteaks.
The cheesesteaks. So, yeah, what do you think about Ben Simmons? What do you think about the Philly fans?
Oh, I think they 100% played a part in that. Yeah. I mean, no matter what he says, like today, I think it was today or yesterday, he went on an interview and he said it was a lot more in his personal life going on. But I feel like the big thing that made him literally just go into his own shell had to be the Philly fans. I'm pretty sure all the DMs, all the tweets, all the posts about him, those get to you. And everyone knows that. Everyone on Twitter knows how much those things can get to players. But not a lot of players, they'll say, oh, they're smart, they stay away from that stuff. But a lot of it gets to their head. Everyone, at the end of the day, every athlete, every celebrity, every famous person that you know are all human just like us. We all feel the same. We all bleed the same color. I mean, it's just... It happens.
And even if they're not looking at it on their own phone, they could be someone, one of their friends could tell them about it, so you're never really away from it.
They have friends too, believe it or not.
Believe it or not. So, yeah, I think just piggybacking off of what we said, I do think that the Sixers won the trade right now, but there's too many ifs about the Nets. But if they fix everything, if everything goes well, I think they won this trade. They're going to be one scary 8th seed. That's all I'm going to say. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I'm just saying, speaking of scary teams, about a few hours ago, today was a really good day there. Let me tell you why. I woke up, the weather was nice, windy, a little bit overcast, right? Work was kind of slow.
Sprinkling?
Yeah, some sprinkling. Work was kind of slow, not too many people there. got home, went to the gym. We shopped a little bit at Walmart, And the 76ers lost by around 50 points. It was amazing. It was a good thing to see. And,
not only did they lose by 50, but who they lost to.
Who did they lose to?
Which brings us into our next
Who did they lose
trade
to?
package. They lost to the Boston Celtics.
Yeah.
Which brings us into our next trade package.
Oh, look, they're showing the game again.
The Celtics did not make only one move, but they made a couple. They waived Dennis Schroeder. I think they traded away Enes Freedom.
Yeah.
Make sure to get that right. And they acquired Daniel Theis, once again, a fan favorite. In my opinion, I really like Daniel Theis on the Boston Celtics. But the biggest one of all had to be Derek White from the Spurs.
Trading away Josh Richardson and Romeo Langford.
One of the most underrated role players. Well, I would say he's a role player. Just because he's in the Spurs and they're like a low-key kind of team.
I would say he's a role player, but he's a
good, very good role player.
Yeah.
And ever since he's gotten to the Celtics, he's passed, 3 games now he's played? So I don't know what it is, a switch flipped or what.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't really lose much in any of these trades. I mean, Enes Freedom wasn't really giving them all that much. Dennis Schroeder, I mean, not a lot of Celtics fans, they finally got to feel what that felt like.
Yeah. And it wasn't necessarily that he was a bad player. It's just that he doesn't really fit.
He just didn't fit in the system.
He doesn't fit team basketball.
He does not fit team basketball. And Derek White is probably one of the perfect fits for the Celtics team. He's unselfish.
He runs the floor
very well. He could be a point guard. We saw that in that playoff run they had against the Nuggets when they took him to 7 in the first round. He could easily play a point guard, shooting guard. He could play all around. I like his hands defensively. He's a really good on-ball defender. And this is a perfect fit to me. For the Celtics.
To me, he's essentially Marcus Smart with better shooting. That's really what I see.
Yes, and to me, I think he is now their 3rd best player.
3rd? I would say Rob is better. I would say Robert Williams.
I'd say Robert Williams, but he doesn't put up points like Derek White to me.
That's true.
That's the only reason why I'd put him ahead.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, looking at the Celtics team, what was the biggest thing? We never really recorded a video, but what was I saying was the biggest reason why the Celtics team sucked?
Because they don't have a reliable 3rd player.
That, but it was the effort and their defense. And I think that effort and defense go hand in hand, especially when it comes to team defense. When it comes to players, you could be a better defender than a certain player.
That is a plus that you say that, because even before, were they on a 6 game? They won 6 in a row before they acquired Derek White. So that means something changed way before this.
Way before that.
Yes.
And I don't know if you guys pay attention to Twitter, but Jaylen Brown, he tweeted, the energy is about to shift. Ever since then, the energy literally shifted. The Boston Celtics, after every game, they would go into the weight room. They would lift weights as a team together, even after a blowout win like that. And I just think that the effort and the defense really did change with this team, and I think that was the biggest reason. Just as we know, great defense leads to good offense, and that was the key thing. And I think both of the star players, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, playing their best basketball right now. And Jason Tatum is looking to pass. Every time he has the ball in his hands, he is looking to pass.
He's an underrated playmaker.
He is, and I think that his assists could be way more up if his actual teammates make more shots. But that can be said for a lot of other players. But I'm just saying, looking at this game tonight,
Reminds me of someone.
But looking at this game tonight, right? You see him. There was certain times where he could have gotten challenged for a layup, but instead he made the smart decision, kicked it out, and you saw it. I think Boston had 28 assists on 24 3-pointers. 25 3-pointers, which is a franchise high. So I think just looking at it, that this team, the energy certainly did shift. And Jaylen Brown...
Yeah, I was about to ask you that. Is he a snub?
Jaylen Brown, is he an all-star snub? I really don't care, being honest. I would much rather see this performance of him putting up, 26 points in the first half, rather than seeing him in some all-star game. And at this point, I would much rather have this team being connected, playing better, than honestly having him be in the all-star game. Okay. I think the majority of NBA fans, majority of NBA players, majority of the media know what Jaylen Brown is about, know what he brings. Yeah. I don't think he needs this other all-star game. And you see him on TNT, they're asking him a bunch of these questions about, how do you feel about being snubbed? He's just like, I don't care. He wants his team to be better.
And to me, I feel like with this Boston team, the biggest X factor to me, even before this game, this winning streak that they're on, has to be Grant Williams. This man had a lot of hate going on these past his first 2 years in the league, and now I think he's 50, 40, 90. Did you say he was in a for a good at any point of the season. If you're part of that club, I mean it's
impressive.
It's impressive. It's really impressive. It catches my eye for sure. I mean his 3-point shooting in college. I remember watching him in college. He was probably one of my favorite players to watch at Tennessee. How big he was. But then since he translated to the NBA, he's gotten a lot slimmer.
Yeah.
He changed his shooting form. He's a lot more confident. He's a good defender, and he uses his chest a lot because he never, even though he did slim down, he still built up a lot of muscle up inside. And to me, I feel like that's the one guy that they need if they want to make a playoff run.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that one thing Boston did and one thing that Brad Stevens did, doing a phenomenal job as the head of basketball operations, is that he cut down a lot of the fat when it came to the young players.
Yeah.
No, it's true. We had too many young players, and I said this in prior videos.
What's his name, huh? Romeo?
Yeah, he got traded. And again, I feel like you couldn't really go wrong with whoever you kept. But just too many players on that roster, on that bench, that was just, you're waiting to kind of have them develop, but they can't develop on the same team. Yeah. So I think that was really good thing to just keep Peyton Pritchard, to keep Grant Williams. You keep Rob as well. It's like, I think that's your core centerpiece, and I think Boston's going to look good moving forward.
I do too, I agree. Moving on to this next trade. This says a lot about both teams, in my opinion. The New Orleans Pelicans trading for C.J. McCollum, bringing him from Portland.
Yeah.
I mean, in my head, there has to be a lot going through Damian Lillard and his thoughts on this next season, this offseason, what's going to happen. Losing your number 2 guy and just hitting the rebuild button really fast in this trade deadline. But what are your thoughts on that? Actually, before you even get into the teams, what do you think Damian Lillard is thinking right now?
I really do think, I don't know if you saw, but it was 2 pictures of, it was 2 sets of starters with Damian in the middle, and everybody else on those teams aren't there on the team anymore. He went through 2 sets of starters, 2 sets of players that he just built a relationship with, and they're not on that team anymore. And he really has nothing to show for it. He doesn't have any rings or anything of that nature. And I really think that Damian Lillard, he is saying that he wants to stay. He wants to kind of find his own path when it comes to finding rings. He's not going to go and chase rings, go to other teams, but I think you have to. I think if you really do want a ring, you're going to have to go. You're going to have to find other players. And other players that suit you well, like a wing. You can't go to somewhere else where they have another guard in place. I just think it really does suck for him. I feel for him. You can't help but feel for the man. After seeing all that he's done, he stayed loyal to that fan base, stayed loyal to his team.
Exactly.
And it just sucks that he's really not getting anything in return.
Yeah, I feel like when you're in the grind for too long, you'll eventually get the respect you deserve. And when you make that decision to finally leave for a better option, everybody understands. Like just feel like
we just saw Matthew Stafford.
Exactly. That's the exact point I was gonna make. 12 years in Detroit, and makes his debut in the Rams jersey. His first year, wins the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I feel like Damian Lillard can have the same exact effect. I mean, maybe he can do it with the Lakers. I don't know. Maybe he does it with another team. But you just never know. It's like the Portland Trailblazers, one of the fastest rebuilds we've ever seen in a span of 24 hours. And they still look impressive to me. Chauncey Billups got those guys playing hard. Anthony Simons is going to be the leading man to the end of this year, because I don't think Dame's going to come back this year. With C.J. McCollum gone, they got a lot of young pieces. I mean, I think this rebuild is going to for sure turn around in a good 3 to 4 years.
Yeah, and it is fitting that look at the 10th and 11th seed in the West.
Exactly.
The Pelicans are at 11.
Jesus,
who just acquired CJ, and then the Blazers are at 10.
Oh my God, that hurts me. Okay.
What
would you grade this trade though? Considering that CJ is now with a young core, which I still don't think is gonna make a playing game.
Really, I think that the Pelicans, I think they got a win now player. If you want to see it as that, you got a player. You're right outside that little bubble to make the play-in tournament, and I think that he's a good player, a good scorer, and he also adds a little bit of defense. And you never know. I really don't know the timetable for Zion. Really don't know when he's coming back. I don't think anybody knows. But let's say that he does come back. You have B.I. who's on there. I think that this team could make some noise in a playing game, but I don't really see them making the playoffs. Yeah. But for the Blazers, I never gave a grade. I would say this is a B-. I would say you got what you wanted, from it. But looking at the Blazers, you want to rebuild. That's fine. But I think your biggest concern has to be Dame. I think even what backtracking off of what the Lions did. The Lions they understood what Stafford meant to that team, to that city, and they understood that you could go ahead and go find your ring.
Like the Blazers have to understand.
Yeah, I think that's the same thing. And again, you're not really gonna attract a lot of players because of the market you're in. No one's gonna want to go to Portland. And
maybe in like 1993.
But it's like right now there's really no one with that kind of star power who's gonna want to go over there and play with Dame. I think Dame's gonna have to find his way out.
Yeah, that window's finally shut.
Yeah.
After so many playoff runs, I think 2 conference finals with each other against the Warriors, sadly.
Yeah, sadly they had to
run
into his father.
That's it. It's finally over, the CJ and Dame era.
Yeah,
with that being said, moving on to another package that I want to talk about personally, because I think this hit for a lot of people, especially me, because I thought he was a really good player. But the Pacers and the Kings trade. Sabonis, I think Buddy Hield. It involves Sabonis, Buddy Hield, and Tyrese Halliburton. What did you think about this? This was okay, a stab in the back for me, and I felt for Halliburton a little bit.
Yeah, when his quote of saying that he what did he say? He had all of his trust in them.
Exactly, and he said that he wanted to be. He was telling people in Sacramento that he wanted to be the next Chris Webber type of player.
Yeah, it does suck, and I feel for both parties who got traded. Sabonis, he's a great player. I think he could be a very good B on a team. He could be a very good number 2 on a team. It just sucks that he went from a bad situation or a decent situation to one of the worst run organizations in the NBA.
Yeah.
And looking at Halliburton, he is one of the great or one of the best young players in this league, right? And you look at the Kings, they have a bunch of talent that are young. You have De'Aaron Fox, you have him. And then what doesn't make sense to me is that the Kings were saying for so long, we're not going to trade Harrison Barnes and Hield for just anything, right?
And they kept Barnes.
Yeah, but they were just coming out saying we're not going to trade anyone, for little things. Yeah. But you essentially just didn't win this trade, and you traded away one of the players who you said you weren't going to trade for so long. To me, it really just doesn't make any sense. I think Halliburton, what is he averaging, 19 and what?
Something like that. But he's been going insane.
Yeah, he's been going insane, and it's been very underrated this season because of the market that he's in.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that I think we need to talk about is that the markets in the NBA matter. And I think that him going from the Kings, which isn't a big market, to the Pacers, which isn't a big market either, I think it really just sucks for him. I feel like he's just going to be stuck and stagnant for the next 2 to 3 years. But, yeah, I just thought this trade made no sense to me.
I think we should make a video of its own.
We could.
In NFL and NBA.
Yeah, like just markets matter in sports. But I just think that this trade really just didn't do anything.
Yeah, this trade is literally just stagnant. I think Sabonis will end up leaving, honestly, in the offseason. And Tyrese Halliburton and Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield is probably going to leave too as well. But I see a big future in Halliburton, obviously, for the Pacers team. It's just with both teams, I just don't know how long it's going to take for them to be in the 4 seed of their conference, like the top 4. It's going to take a while. This trade was really just for nothing, in my opinion. And that's what makes both these franchises horribly ran by their GMs. Okay, I'm going to give you 2 quick ones, right? And then we're going to go to our last team. Okay. But I just want to give me a grade for these, right? The Hornets trading for Montrezl Harrell.
I think that was a really good trade. I would give it a B+. Or actually, I'm going to give it a B. I'm going to give it a B. I think that a player like that, he adds physicality to your team, and he kind of adds a sense of maturity to that team that's very young. Yeah. And I think they're still in the spot. There's still a chance that they can make the play-in. I think that he's going to add a good element. And, he's just one of the more gritty guys in the NBA. And I think it was a good trade.
Yeah, I think he's been wanting to play there for a while. Yeah. I'll give that trade an A-. I like the energy he's been giving them so far. And the second one I'm going to give you is Caris LeVert to the Cavs.
I think you just added more to that team that's very underrated this season. That, in my opinion, I just thought they were going to fall off when it came to the second half of the season.
Me too. I'm not going to lie.
I mean, you always see a team like that. You always see a team that's on the rise, but then you see them kind of dip. They play the more physical and the harder and top tier teams, and they fall off. But they really haven't. They're still at, I think they're at 3 right now. Oh, they're at 4. They're at 4 right now. But as you know, the East is so condensed that they could be 4 today, 1 tomorrow. So. Yeah, I just think that was a really good trade. I would give it an A. I give it an A too. A good scorer on your team.
You basically just replaced Colin Sexton.
Yeah, essentially.
For the scoring. And moving on to the last part of this episode. I'll throw this package in there. I think we have a little bit more time. Spencer Dinwiddie and Davis Bertans to the Mavs for Kristaps.
Yuga Luka, another scorer, another guy to pass to. He can space the floor. I think it helps a lot. And especially the Mavs are doing surprisingly good. I didn't think they were going to do this.
Yeah, they just beat Miami.
Yeah, and you get rid of the tall guy who shoots jump shots.
I give this an A too. A lot of people are saying, Spencer Dinwiddie is terrible for the locker room. Davis Bertans hasn't played in forever. People change when they get traded. mindsets change. The coaches, the people they play around could change a lot of their decision making. And I think that's exactly what Luka is. He gives guys confidence.
Yeah.
And then moving on to the last team. They're in this video simply because it's sad, right? It's sad. They didn't make any trades. The Los Angeles Lakers. And then they're going to wonder why they're in such a deep hole, right? No trades for Westbrook, which I get. I mean, who really does want to trade for him at this point? Oh, yeah. But no trades for...
the Houston Rockets.
The Houston Rockets did. John Wall was in a trade package. Christian Wood was in a trade package. They wanted to go after Buddy Hield. They wanted to go after Cam Reddish, who was heavily overrated by many Knicks fans and Hawks fans.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts on the Lakers not making any moves when they desperately needed it to?
I think, in my opinion, I think it was the lesser of the two evils, if you would say. I would say that you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't.
Yeah.
If you do make that trade, everyone's going to be looking at you and saying, wow, you really made a big deal about Russell Westbrook and this entire thing, and you passed up on Hield just for this to happen. But I think that, if you stay, I think you could kind of make it work a little bit. We could see how this plays out. They're still in play for the play-in tournament. You never know what can happen. This Laker team could go on a run. Anyone with LeBron and AD, if they're playing the right kind of basketball, could be a dangerous team, as you saw 2 years ago. So I think that their biggest thing when it comes to a team as a whole is if you do make that play-in, you do win your games, you have to face either the Suns or the Warriors. That's not... And I think that sucks for both teams. I think the Suns or the Warriors, I don't think they want to play AD and LeBron. And I don't think AD and LeBron want to go against two of the hottest teams in the NBA.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think you're kind of screwed right now. But it's going to be an interesting first round if it does play out that way. But yeah, right now I just think that the Lakers, I think there's just really nothing they can really do until the offseason. And I think that they did make the right decision by waiting. But it just wasn't... It didn't look good on their part.
Yeah, I think they did. They do. The one thing I did like is that they waited for Westbrook, but I thought they were going to still trade for some pieces, some shooters. And you saw it on Saturday primetime when they played the Warriors. All those guys who weren't traded, they played with passion. They played their hearts out. I'll give them that. I'll give them credit. They played very well.
It was mostly the starters.
But then again, it was mostly... Even Westbrook played good.
Yeah.
Then again, it was mostly the two guys that are untouchable.
Yeah.
And they thought that they could just slack off in San Francisco against one of the best shooting, or the best shooting team, in my opinion, in the NBA, and the Golden State Warriors. And the reason why they lost that game was because of those two.
Yeah, I would
everybody, Austin Reeves, Malik Monk, Russell Westbrook, everybody in that game that played kept it close, right? Making plays.
Yeah.
And then you have LeBron and AD slacking. I think LeBron went 1 for 10 in that fourth quarter. And then when you're a liability at the free throw line, as one of the greatest of all time, it says a lot. And then when AD...
16 points.
16 points, and I think he only shot like 40-something%. And no one on that Warriors team, no big man can guard that man unless Draymond Green is playing.
And even
other than that,
still don't know.
No one can guard that man.
I don't understand that. I mean, it's just been a bad year all around for AD. As you saw earlier in the year, one of the worst 3-point percentages, right?
Yes,
Wasn't it
like
18%?
18.
It was that low. I think you just see a player of that caliber who was playing at a high level in the bubble. Even before that, just looking like one of the top 5 NBA players, and now just taking a huge dive, a huge dip. And in a game like that, when I think, was it Pascal? Who's the one who came out? Was it Pascal?
Which
for the Warriors.
Oh, Eric Pascal.
Was it him who came out?
No, he's not even on that team.
Who was it? Who's the big?
Kevon Looney?
Kevon Looney, there we go. He's the one who came out with about 6 minutes left, and then AD just... I really thought, I was like, okay, they didn't really have a big there. I think that's going to, open up the floor for him. Maybe he could do something. He still didn't really do anything. And it's like they don't even look for him at times because they know it's not really going to result in much. And I think that it kind of shows. It's like if there's no big on the floor, you need to pound that ball to AD. Exactly. I think he needs to get physical and just do what he does. But it's mind-boggling to me at this point.
Yeah, both of them just shied away from the big moment in San Francisco. And it sucks to say, but I do expect a lot of changes in the offseason.
Yeah.
That's what the Lakers do. They're basically the Rams of the NBA. They want to win now, especially with how much time LeBron has left.
Yeah.
And Lord knows how long AD is going to be on this team for. It's just going to all come down to the offseason. And I honestly don't expect much from the rest of the season. I really don't. All right, with all that being said, the trade deadline has finally passed. More NBA videos to come. Thank you guys all for the support once again. Don't forget to follow the new Twitter.
Yeah.
A lot of tweets are going to be put out. Trust me. Everything is going to be put out. Retweets, all that. We're ready for all the smoke on Twitter. All the quoted tweets, we're ready for it.
Yeah. Just had to get, this video out. Just getting everything off our chest. I liked how we, did you give a lot of your grades, or did you just ask me?
Did I give a lot of my grades?
Let's ask Patrick to put your grades on the screen.
Yeah, I think I did.
Okay.
Majority of them.
But yeah, thank you guys. It means a lot for all the support, for the Super Bowl video, interacting with our polls. We're going to try to get into more interactions with the NBA. Just thank you guys, and we'll be back more.